One of the most profound things I've learned in my life is that it's actually not about my hair at all. I've spent a lifetime trying to cover up who I am. And as much as I love a good external transformation, and I do, I much more love a heart transformation. Join me as I share how I work to heal my heart, find happiness, and embrace our hair. Hey guys, welcome back to season 3, episode 1 of the It's Not About Your Hair podcast. Where have I been? That'd be a fun one. I had a dear friend from church say, when is the podcast coming back to me on Sunday? She might be the only one who's religiously listening. But for those of you who have been wondering, I've taken a long break. I think it's been since December of 2024 since I have made an episode of the podcast. And there's a couple of things, season 1 and season 2 were all about really perspective shifting, identifying the things that are holding you back, living in your passion. It was about everything. And I think it's always important that we take the time to recalibrate when we need to. 2024 was a year. I do always believe that life is happening for you and not to you. But last year was it was a roller coaster. And I think honestly, if we do our year-end reviews, I've talked about that twice on the podcast now, and we look back at a whole year of life, 12 months, 365 days, we will always discover highs and lows. It's interesting depending on the way that you view the world. If you'll remember the lows more or the highs more, where you're living in your thought process. And are you able to keep your feet on the ground in the moments that you're in? Do you live too much in the past or too much in the future? For me, 2024 brought about substantial growth in my life in every area. So I've talked about the wealthiest year ever class that I took. And really, it was just a gateway to open my mind how many different ways wealth is acquired in this world. Time, money, love, and health. There's so many ways to be wealthy, and often we think it's just financial. But for me, really working towards that goal of wealth and what that looks like for me, 2024 brought about extreme business growth for me in so many areas, not just behind my chair. In fact, I cut back a little bit more behind my chair and moved into some other areas. 2024 brought about huge changes as a mom for me. My oldest daughter transitioning into her life in full-blown adulthood, which she has been, but at 24, she has a degree, she has a home, she's stable and in love. And that's a different type of adult parenting than parenting a young adult who still needs a lot of help, maybe in college. My middle daughter had many changes, and she was on the podcast 3 times. If you haven't watched, you should. From graduating high school 2 years ago to spending a year not really knowing what she wanted to do and sharing that with you guys. Oh, I thought those were great episodes. And she started beauty school, decided that she didn't love that and pivoted, dropped out of beauty school. And I thought that was a great lesson for me on not sticking with something just to see it through, which has been a way that we've parented, and releasing that to allow her to transition to going on a farm and working on a farm, you guys, and then ultimately joining the Air Force in November and leaving home. Another huge leap in my life as a parent. It changed the dynamic in my home once again. It's the first time I've had a kid that Sydney went away to college, but to just go away and even though Sydney's was 4 years, I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. It felt different because we could go. We felt like she could just come home, even though she didn't. And she was gone for 4 years, which is the same amount of time that Sophie enlisted for. This felt so much more definite, because it is. Once you sign up, you're in. And that brought about so many changes. m- which left us just one child at home, which in my entire adult life, so we had Sydney when we were 19, I've never had just to have just one child at home. That was a whole new space for my husband and I. She's a freshman in high school now. And if you've been a parent, you know that by the time your kids get into high school, you're still parenting, very much parenting, but you don't see your children that much if they're like my kids, which are highly involved. So she's usually in a sport every season. So she goes to school usually early if there's a sport before school. And then she's in practice or games after school. And, they're just they're just not around that much. So when they are around, you want to be totally interested and invested in listening. And the world changed for her, to not have anyone else at home. And we're learning that. Uh, we sold and bought. My husband sold his business, walked away from a business that was no longer serving him. It was busy, successful. We sold that to his friend who had been in the barbershop with them, and he transitioned to a new job and didn't love it. And then recently transitioned again, which was incredibly huge. I can't wait to share that story with you guys about giving up the pursuit of money for the pursuit of purpose. I've never seen him so happy. 2024 also brought a great loss in my family. We lost my niece in March of last year, and we're in March of this year, and my father-in-law in March of last year. And I have episodes on all of these things and on grief and life and loss. And it was just a year. And in the middle of all of that, you guys, so much goodness, so much goodness. So really transitioning and learning how to transition. Some people live life as they get older and hope for more leveling out. I'm living life hoping that it's a continuum. I want constant growth, change, opportunities to be expanded. I want to live in a mindset where goodness is happening and I'm able to be on the lookout for where it's at in my life. And so all that to say, I took a step back because I added some new things to my life, created some online content, and really was working to shift some of my business and taking time to understand my home business, my life here at home, how that is changing, and my life as a wife and how that's changing, and how I support my husband and my role as an adult mom, and learning to take on these new roles and really growing into an area I've never been in, which is really fun, and working to be an educator. And when I decided about the podcast, what I needed was for it to just be a space that was an outlet for me to share. I'm an external processor, and I've talked about this before. So for me, sharing helps me to recognize my feelings, to identify where I'm at. And I used to overshare with my family who didn't really give a crap because our families generally, they love us. But in your family space, understanding what your role is really important. And this taken me a lot of time through personal development. But my role in my family is not always the same role I have here on the podcast, or the same role that I have as a daughter, or the same role that I have as a hairstylist. A lot of times, the closer we are to people, the more we just need to listen. So my job behind the chair is a lot of listening to where people are at in their hair journey and looking for the deeper nuggets of, is this a hair thing or a heart thing? Is it a hands thing or a hair thing? Being able to listen leaves behind these nuggets of truth that allow me then to maybe speak into somebody's life. With my family, I always want to fix everything, and they don't want me to. They don't want me to fix things. A lot of times I've had to learn, is this a conversation where you're just venting? Because I want everyone to be wanting the self-help, the personal development, and they don't always want it. And so my life here on the podcast is to share all of these nuggets that I'm learning in real time with you guys, as well as explore mindset shifts and opportunities to share what we're struggling with. And as I talked about in the new introduction, is that what a gift it is that I didn't know I had, because I've been in beauty school since I was 16 and turned 45 this March. So almost 30 years standing behind a chair. I didn't realize what a treasure I have in consistency in my life that I've chosen. So consistency of relationships behind my chair allow me, the more interactions you have with somebody over and over again, the deeper you get into their life. You get a root system that's wide and deep. And I get to experience life with people. And this is really cool. So I talked about this. A lot of times we surround ourselves with people that are just like us. And so it can make us narrow-minded in a lot of areas. Because I can't choose, I don't have a wait list that says, what are your political beliefs, which I don't know what mine are. What are your religious beliefs? How are you raising your children? What kind of wife are you? I just get clients that our common denominator is curly hair. And then from there, I get to go deep, as deep as they'll allow me, into their life. And they share these moments with me, and I get to have a mindset shift because I have a client who is parenting different than me. And I get to watch her over 15 years and how her kids are working out their lives. And I get to pick up some of those tools that they share with me. It's not just about hair. And some of you don't have those experiences. You work from home. Maybe you don't even interact with different types of people. And so the podcast really is an opportunity for me to share with you multiple ways to look at the world. I often believe if we would just take the time to listen to people that are different than us, we might discover that we have more in common than we do differently. I've also been so lucky to have been part of the same church for the last 20 years. And when I say church, I mean a group of people. It's not a building. It's not a place. Our place and building have changed numerous times. And the people have changed, but there's some that are consistently there. And for me, coming from a childhood, if you're new to the podcast, a little backstory, coming from a childhood of rejection and abandonment, creating stability in my adult life has been something that has really helped me to shift my perspective up on the world, that it is safe, that people do love you, people stay. And also having to journey through the fear that clients will leave, people will leave church, family members will get divorced. Life changes, just exactly as this last year of my life has changed. Your life has probably changed a lot too. Again, in this podcast, we want to dive deeper into how it impacts us when the world around us is changing. This season, I'm going to add a couple of new things. I'm going to add segments called It's Not Your Business, where we talk about business. So I think once a month, I'm going to add in It's Not Your Business. And I'm going to share nuggets of 30 years of entrepreneurship, of failures. But here's what I believe now about failures, you guys, through so many things, is that we do not fail. If we begin to look at our failures as protection, as a prompting that we're headed in the wrong direction, as a lesson of something we need to learn, and we are not resistant to failing, then we begin to be unafraid. Once you're unafraid, nothing can stop you. And that's really what I believe in. So helping you to identify when we're allowing fear, which is false evidence appearing real, to take over our life, and shift into a braver, brighter, more beautiful world. I'm so excited to be back because I have someone new, Miss Tori Young, who is a friend who's going to be helping me with the podcast this year. And I'm very excited about that transition. So we're going to have, it's not about your hair. We're also going to have, it's not your business, where we talk about business. For those of you who are in business, these are going to be little snippets that help us to identify fear, not be afraid, and move forward. Also, I'm going to interview some clients, because what I really want is to bring the goodness of life that I get to experience into your world. It's going to be a fun season. And if you have been in a season that's been hard, I want you to know that it's still worth fighting for. Every day that you have the opportunity to wake up, and however you wake up, you have an opportunity to live a different life, to not be a victim of your past, to create the life that you want to live. I am a byproduct of that, you guys. We're going to talk a lot about that. The law of attraction, which I shared on my story today. So whenever this airs, the law of attraction gets my Christian friends a little freaked out, but it is absolutely a biblical principle of having faith over fear. It is living in light that the world is happening for you and not to you, believing with faith that all things work together for our good, trusting that no weapon formed against me will prosper, living in the highest form of gratitude, because in that gratitude, I'm able to receive and to serve and to give and to live freely. That no matter what's happening in the political world, what's happening in my family, with my health, that as long as I have air to breathe, there's something for me to do. And that's good news. So if you're in a season that's hard, recognize that season, breathe fully into it. Don't stuff it, hide it, or try and fight it, but look at it. Look at it for what it is, recognize it, and realize that this too shall pass. Because we don't get to stay anywhere we don't want to. Every day takes us a step further out of our grief, a step further into our grief, a step further into our healing, but we get the power to choose. So happy that you're here. If this was something that helped you today, if you've been on the journey, please leave me a comment. Like this, subscribe, share it with a friend, all of the darn things. And as always, thank you for being here. You are worthy of love. I'm so happy that you're here. I guess this is where I ask you to subscribe to my channel, to follow me on social, and to listen wherever podcasts can be found. And join me every Tuesday at 2 as we unpack how to heal your hair, your heart, and your happiness.